Somebody just at the break, actually John Whitty, asked me to tell people that when people buy John's books or Quinton's books, the proceeds from those books will be donated to Tsunami. And with Cecilia's books, because she's under a certain kind of contract, her chapbooks will be donated. The proceeds from her chapbooks will go to Tsunami. And I forgot to thank Scott, of course, for giving us this space, as he always does. Our first reader today is going to be Quinton Hallett. And it's interesting seeing you here, Nancy, because I'm going to give us something you said. Several years ago, Nancy Moody said, Quinton's poems remind me of a Chinese puzzle box. And that is, I don't know exactly what Nancy meant, but that meant something to me. Because Quinton's poems are generally compact, and they're full of kind of different kinds of imagery that don't necessarily, they're quirky, the imagery's quirky, and you have to kind of take her poems in your hand and roll them around and push the things and find the key, and then they pop open. And her poems are mysterious and lovely. And one thing I want to say, Quinton, is that I've never read poems like yours. Like Quinton has a really original voice. Quinton's three chapbooks are Quarry, Shiver, Quench, Slake, and most recently, Refuge from Flux, which was published by Finishing Line in 2010. I asked each of the poets to write something about their relationship to poetry, and this is what Quinton wrote. Though I began writing in my 20s, poetry didn't find me until 25 years ago. I credit Cecilia for lacing the writing path with vital threads in a class she taught for the UO weeks after I moved here from California. Thanks to that class, the writers I met there, and the extraordinarily supportive community of Oregon poets, I settled into poetry for the long haul. Death and loss, grief, black humor make regular appearances in my work. Even when I start out with a lighter-hearted draft, the rough edges, the things which sting or disturb equilibrium, often get in there. For me, poetry consoles and celebrates. Poetry is a sister you trust with your life, the airlift off a treacherous mountain. I like the daily challenge of following quirky things just outside peripheral vision, below ground, or off the norm in order to find a deeper truth. Welcome, Quinton Hallett.
Thank you, Kathryn. Wow, and everyone for being here, and Scott, our favorite host for any feast. This wonderful place. Oh my gosh, this is really great. I think it's wonderful, Kathryn, that you coordinated and are curating this reading to align with Food for Lane County. And Alicia, you helped me place a refrigerator a couple of years ago with a food pantry. And so Alicia's just there for people. We had a freezer and it was in fine condition. We wanted a newer, fancier one. And here it's just great to know that refrigerator is down in a food pantry where they really needed it. So so that's just really makes me feel happy. And I think it is a calling to think how high Oregon is, and this community is on the list of people going hungry. And since poetry feeds us, we can hope to feed bellies and souls this afternoon with cans and cantos. You can throw a tomato at me anytime. But one more serious, something serious to consider. Food for Lane County has these scannable coupons. You've probably seen them in local stores. And I just thought maybe I wanted to get a whole lot of them and bring them as bookmarks to give out tonight. But someone can have this very one. It's $10, and just take some of those and use them as bookmarks so that you make a goal maybe this month or Poetry Month. Poetry Month, scan a coupon. When you buy your books at Tsunami, then go and scan a coupon for Food for Lane County with this bookmark. It's really easy, and it just, I know, would help these kids in all the programs that Alicia told us about. So I am going to start with a poem by Evan Boland. Evan Boland was born in Ireland, and of course tomorrow is that day. And I think the last I heard, she teaches at Stanford, and I think she's head of the creative writing program there. But this poem has just knocked me over for quite a long time. This is from her collection, Against Love Poetry. Quarantine. In the worst hour of the worst season of the worst year of a whole people, a man set out from the workhouse with his wife. He was walking, they were both walking north. She was sick with famine fever and could not keep up. He lifted her and put her on his back. He walked like that west and north, until at nightfall, under freezing stars, they arrived. In the morning they were both found dead, of cold, of hunger, of the toxins of a whole history. But her feet were held against his breastbone. The last heat of his flesh was his last gift to her. Let no love poem ever come to this threshold. There is no place here for the inexact praise of the easy graces and sensuality of the body. There is only time for this merciless inventory. Their death together in the winter of 1847, also what they suffered, how they lived, and what there is between a man and a woman, and in which darkness it can best be proved. So that's kind of a hard act to follow, but I just admire that poem so much and her collection. And when we think about famine and then just what Alicia was saying, it's right here in River City. All right, well, I will be serving up a little menu in the first section here. Pomegranates, persimmons, and this is for Lisa Rosen, many of you knew. That summer I built the cairn for you at Lower Adelio Lake. I thought pomegranates all day. You were in surgery, giving up your breasts to dream. Each year, fall is a gift whose container belies its contents. Platters piled high with harvest offerings, love what's round, apples, Asian pears, persimmons. When you slipped into candle flame, past the messy parts of being female, of illness and death, I hope you glanced back at how light can linger in the dents of a pomegranate, still gracing the post-holiday table. That's her. My 6-word bio a few years ago when we were doing that for various publications was urban girl digs dirt now. Because I was living in cities and big cities. I grew up on the East Coast and I moved here from Los Angeles. So I have some, food follows me, and so does LA sometimes. Dinner at the Deja Vu. If it's bad, one of those huge spats, drive the freeway downtown. A litter patrol will be stabbing the shoulder, and traffic will creep enough for buying fresh artichokes from a sun-cracked vendor on the median. If there is a feral woman your age pacing too close to the vendor, just count your change. Try not to spare. It may or may not help to recall Chicago, December 1972, the glazed Eisenhower, excessive speed. Your ex, too proud of his latest spin for your protest. He did reach across you for the door handle. He did shove. You did find a new fireplace to warm your cold feet. Return home, set the table. Defrost a leftover you loved the first time. Boil water for a hero girl's artichoke and one for your new spouse. This is dinner at the Deja Vu. One set of teeth pulling fresh leaves slowly for nourishment. Another rushing right to the choke. This poem is also a poem, and I'm not sure what the form is, but Jenny might help me with the form where the first letter of each line is the letter of your name.
Acrostic?
I guess it's an acrostic. Acrostic. Frog Princess. Quite the carnivore under my parents' roof I was, when I secretly nudged and gnawed ham bones to suck and tease the sweet marrow out of their tubes. Nights, Mother and Dad had no idea how I could store all that lard, and I avoided any chance for salty confession. Liable I was to choke the dear ones who left each morning to bring home that bacon. Everything for a reason, I say, decades later. It took touching only a single frog to emerge from the pumpkin, a full-fledged, sporadic vegetarian. Tomatoes yet? I guess I'm saying that some of the poems have too many teeth, but it's really wonderful to see. I really like having food follow me, and food and hunger, and the kinds of food and hunger and the kinds of love follow me in preparing for this reading, because it's just wonderfully, it's a wonderful stew. Square roots. Imagine the ability to name the body of water a particular wine rises from, or the specific seedling in a test garden that will become a Stradivarius. For each optimist, there is a bright thing that can be traced unsullied back to its origin. Then there is the pessimist, unruly guest at the table, who can't wait to hear the backstory of carrion before it meets the vulture's jaw. Let us praise the connoisseurs of every day who consecrate our culture in its many guises. Beware the gourmands who hoard the truffle like cat burglars and consume the trifle without blinking. All right, let me see. You won't be hungry after this menu. Waffles. Waffles. When that chance meeting of a father of 3 eventually led to marriage, I put on 2 gold bands and then add 3 keys to my chain for the locked hearts of his 2 boys and a girl, minted into a realm I did not labor to bring about. Those kids melt like butter and real maple syrup into waffle squares, architecture they were born to, ascending and descending in Escher, complications, our new marriage, the break in their known. No one chose me to be mother, but I work at it. Borrow mothering cups of sugar at a time. At family breakfast, I pour imitation syrup onto the waffles. It smothers the pastry just like the real stuff. Sinks into the squares, gobbled up by those hungry enough. It's fun to be a step-parent. I do feed them as much love as I can. All right, one more of these. there's a bounty of solace, I just want to say, in a feast, and there's also danger, as we all know. Seedless grapes. There's the seed we find in the pricey organic bunch, the pit shard in the pitted olives, which nearly breaks a tooth, the black vein grinning from the deveined shrimp. Any search for perfection seems to have infinite ways to come up short. When you tell me they told you you are cancer-free, we run uphill once again to the store to load up on fresh delicacies. And first, before we pop open the Veuve Clicquot, I ask you please to hand the jars and bags over to me. I won't tempt the gods by begging for guarantees, but I would like the chance to devein, find stray pits, have power just this once over what feeds us. All right. All right, one more. Sorry. When cows lie down before lunch, it's going to rain. And if fresh from a new grief, instead of pacing the mind's sealed corridors, you head to the garden in that rain to pick parsley, you'll get the one break you need to make it till dinner. Then, when the favorite bowl slides from sudsy hands to the floor, if it bounces but doesn't break, you'll live in those crazed seconds before you know a second bounce will shatter it. I'm going to make a bridge here, a bridge that is very helpful, and I would really, I'm very happy to read a poem that's in Kathryn's wonderful anthology, What the River Brings, and I haven't been able to, I think Cecilia and John and I are all honored to be in that collection, and I know that you've had a lot of readings from that book, but I haven't been able to join that, so I'd like to read one of my poems that's in What the River Brings. Cantilever. Don't we project, don't we lean over the rail of the boat, build our house on the edge of things, put walls and cairns close to the sheerest drops? Don't we want to lean out as far over water as we can? Don't we envy the heron balancing on one leg in the creek? Don't our eyes follow the fat orange cat creeping out onto the thin, cracked branch, suddenly becoming a Chinese lantern hanging in midair? Then the next, the last section that I'll read, I'll segue. I have a poem, a relatively recent poem, and it's titled To the Long Ago Maybes. And I'll read that next, but since I wrote that and sent it out to a couple of people to see and shared it at the New Year with some friends, an animated filmmaker in Santa Barbara called and asked me if I would mind if he did an animated film to this poem. So I'm thrilled, and hi, Charles, if you're watching, down there in sunny Santa Maria.
Magic hand.
Anyway, so I'll call this next section To the Long Ago Maybes, and just stay tuned because today John was going for that. We've gone back and forth many times with images, and I've recited the poem and recorded the poem, and another person has recorded the poem, and so forth. But I think the final cut will be today, and I really don't know yet. I will try to link you all, but John and I have to deal with the copyright, and I don't have a website yet, but when I do, maybe it'll be up there. But anyway, it's just an amazing process to watch your poem become a visual. And it's just a great new ekphrastic exercise, I'll tell you. To the long ago maybes, who, I wonder, were those pulsing boys calling me out of the house wet on New England summer evenings? Which of them used crab walk arguments? Which one fed the most enchanting assertions, wrapping his breath around my neck, soft as corn silk? How nimble each archived mirage. This is the time of year to catalog and stash such strands before fall's orange debris flutters to the pavement like feathers, before all the loose promises are snapped back in the purse. To the boys I forget and the ones I don't, thank you for being precise stones, firmly embedded in the fordable brooks. Your slippery gleam lifts above all the rushing. So, and then the sort of the theme of the long ago maybes and the what ifs and what didn't happen and so forth. I have a small little group of waltz waves, and that's a syllabic poem. Kind of looks like waterfalls on the page. It's specific syllables from 1 to 4, and just like a 6-minute poem, I guess. A quick one. Obad for the underworld. Sex recruits them from sleep, intima, aching for reflux, aftermath, invisible, unscented, in their world again. Orpheus forsakes his faithful lyre. Freeze tag. Now here's one for the long ago maybes, high school reunion. Freeze tag. You sidle up high school reunion, 50 years since you knew it all, anesthetized leap of faith, childhood sends breathless tilt-a-whirl missives, step forward, back. And then this, I'll just read one more of these. This is for dear David Johnson. Maybe some of you folks knew David. He lived in this community for a long time, and he had a series of serious brain tumors, and he eventually died of those tumors. But one time I talked to him when he was rehabbing from one of his surgeries, and he said, "Quinton, this is the year of living carefully." And so I had to say, David, stay with us, but let me steal this title. And the year of living carefully for David Johnson. Stared, almost could not find Jupiter. Looking was worthless, compared to imagining your winged heart, roaming night, catching a random updraft, soul trying flight. Couple more newer poems. My aunt has Alzheimer's, and that's another kind of long ago, or right now, maybe again, maybe. So I seem to be working a lot with the word mirage and with the notion of mirage in a lot of my new work, and this just is simply titled Mirage. Your brain has escaped its bone house. Stories shimmer like soldiers floating on Gulf War roads. This gray matter, pan for gold, words grooving 8 decades, now silenced in memory care. Every day you wait for your long dead brother. He might be the God particle, or a white bucket turned egret, invisible to everyone but you. Or he might be someone's missing breast, still needing to be caressed, reclaiming the void in its yearning. This next poem is for a woman that I know online from Kabul, and I met her. Her name is Fatima Aryan, and I met her through Ingrid and Martha and Jerry's the Stafford birthday program a couple of years ago, where we had all these voices from Asia and from countries that are really struggling under the regimes and under our work there. Anyway, Fatima is a poet. She lost a lot, many members of her family. She's also an administrator. She's a very brave woman in Kabul right now, and I hope I'll meet her someday. Instructions for a flightless crow for Fatima. To see better, affix a sable blindfold. To inhale enough sound, recall the frightened skunk. Do not swallow your own flag to launch the fierce protest. Never faint if hoodwinking prey is your goal. Gnaw from the snake's opposite end. Believe each rising thermal is strapped to your tree of a heart. You may still kick free from the blackest of Edens. There is little to be done about your broken wing. And beat. I meant to say too that I had started this poem before the Concord last year, and Cecilia and Susan Deming had a wonderful workshop on revision. So if you found that strapped to your tree of a heart familiar, Cecilia, I'm still learning from you. Great. All right, I'll end with this, and this is a bit of a segue into my newer work too. Self-portrait as bruise. Self-portrait as bruise. A blood whisperer. I am the younger sister of impact. The lost hour daylight savings mourns. Mildew is my second cousin, once removed. I'm often surreptitious, the small chameleon on the back of a thigh. If there is a fresh pear on the counter, I will press into it my yellow kiss. I've been called reticent, understudy to hostage and hospice, but I prefer to yell when someone sees I'm there. I can be quiet as a spy, slip unnoticed to a spot below the ear. Usually, when I take my leave, few remember how to spell my name or the dates and times of our meeting. My longing is different from love, though it is similar in the way it can pool in one place too long, aggravating intention, like the afternoon smudge of a rain cloud.